Hello and welcome to Out of My Mind. My name is Robison Wells. A lot of things have been going on this week. First, I have been volunteered to collect money for the Friends of Scouting program. My son is a Boy Scout and my other son is a Cub Scout, and the Friends of Scouting program is where they rope the parents into going door to door to all of your neighbors and try to get them to donate money. And the Friends of Scouting money goes to writing new handbooks, and inventing new knots. I have no idea what the Friends of Scouting money goes for. It's hard to collect money when you go door to door and you say, this is my son the Scout, but the money that you're donating will not go to my son the Scout. It will go to the Boy Scouts of America, and he will probably never directly see the efforts of this money. I remember when I was a Boy Scout and my dad had to collect money for the Friends of Scouting, and he hated it, and now I understand why. I was thinking about fundraising, and it reminded me of something back when I was in grad school. I got an MBA in marketing. We were studying consumer behavior, and we were looking at fundraising specifically, and there was a study where they asked one group, please help donate, and they asked another group, please help donate, every penny helps. The first group, where they asked please help donate, donated, 28% of them donated. In the group where they asked please help donate, every penny helps, 50% of them donated. Every penny helps. That little phrase added an additional 22% of respondents to say yes. There is a whole ream of psychological papers that are written on consumer psychology and why we do the things we do. For example, did you know that a blue sleeping pill works better than a red sleeping pill? Unless you're in Italy, in which a red pill works better than a blue pill. Things like painkillers work better if they cost more. Placebos work better if they cost more. Coffee tastes better if it comes in a nice cup than if it comes in a styrofoam cup. I am fascinated by these little triggers that we have in our subconscious, and I think that part of that is because I have schizophrenia, and so I have a lot of little triggers. Like, I am triggered by the North Pole. Not really, I'm triggered by magnetic north and compasses. But the reason that I'm afraid of magnetic north and compasses is because there is this whole giant system of forces that I can't see that are coming from magnetic north and are affecting the compass that I can hold in my hand. And if something can travel such a distance and be so powerful and I can't see it, that freaks me out. But all of us, whether we are schizophrenic or neurotypical, we all have triggers to certain sensory inputs. For example, whenever I taste Diet Dr. Pepper, it takes me immediately back to the summer where I wrote Variant. I was drinking a lot of Diet Dr. Pepper at the time. And whenever I smell skunks, it reminds me of my grandma because she had a sheep ranch up in rural Utah, and we would go visit her and there were a lot of skunks there. All of which to say is that when I got involuntarily volunteered to go out and collect money for the Friends of Scouting, it probably triggered something in my brain, probably something genetic, that my dad had a fear of the Friends of Scouting, and probably his dad had a fear of the Friends of Scouting. And now that I do some Googling on the topic, the Friends of Scouting isn't that bad. Yes, they spend money on dumb things like postage and executive salaries, but they also spend money on important things like camping supplies and volunteer training and liability insurance. When I was in the 8th grade, I got bucked off a horse at a scout activity and I broke my spine in 2 places. The BSA paid for that. And yes, there are dumb things about the Boy Scouts. They're not as inclusive as they should be, and they're not as transparent as they should be, but the Friends of Scouting money goes to pay for scholarships for the poor and disadvantaged youth to go to camp, to pay for it, and to have food to eat. So I'll go door to door and collect the money. Every penny helps. I will see you on Friday.